Hey guys, how you doing? George Markoski and Christina Markoski, Positive Property Solutions.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yep, now if you're not watching this inside the Positive Property Club, I really think what you need to do is, if you're interested in property and want to join like-minded individuals around Australia, this is the fastest growing property club Facebook group in Australia when it comes to property, is come along to Facebook, type in Positive Property Club, and if you're pretty cool and not a douche, we'll say yes, come on in, and we'll let you join.
We'll say welcome to the club. We'll welcome you with open arms.
That's right, absolutely. So what are we talking about today anyway?
So basically, there's been a lot of, I guess, media hype lately and a lot of news articles about Westpac and the major banks, Bank of Melbourne, St. George in particular, that have been saying, you know, it's too hard to get an interest-only loan and it's not possible. They're not going to let you do interest-only loans anymore.
Yep, great, good question. Look, we've had a lot of people in the club actually ask questions, shouldn't I fix interest only? So what I want to do is I want to talk about banking, I want to talk about interest rates and give you some secrets about that.
But also interest-only compared to principal and interest as
yes,
well.
But also a lot of people are asking, should I fix my rate too?
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you a really big tip at the end of this, right? So you have to wait till the end. Sorry guys, this is going to be great. It's going to be awesome. So let's start.
Can you get an interest-only loan these days?
Yes.
Is it possible?
Yes.
How do you get one?
Okay, so look, banks, we have to understand that banks, their business model is they borrow money for a certain rate and then they lend that money out.
Right.
That's what their job is. Their job is to lend money. So, you know, it's funny, we've had some people, you know, I've seen a lot of people talk about that banks aren't lending money to investors anymore and blah, blah, blah. This is so ludicrous. It's ridiculous, right? I mean, if you think banks are going to stop lending money, you're an idiot. Sorry, but I had to say that because I had this guy in the group that said he worked for a bank and they weren't lending anymore, and it was very annoying. And
well, what does the bank do? Does it now sell cupcakes or something?
Exactly.
It's not a bank anymore.
Banks are in the business of lending money. They're always going to be lending money.
Yeah.
Now, what happens is from time to time, APRA, which is in charge of the banking in Australia.
What is APRA? What do they do?
What do? They regulate banking.
Okay.
Right? And because they regulate banking, sometimes what they do is they tweak things.
Right. Okay.
So when they change things, banks need to change, but also company policy in banks changes as well. So what happens is you've got all these different lenders and different tiers of lending that have got different regulations, that have got different policies, that have got different marketing campaigns to target different consumers. So there's a lot of things going on all the time. So yes, sometimes there's certain banks that stop doing certain products.
Right.
True. But it doesn't happen for too long, and there's always other people willing to do it. Because what happens is, because we live in a capitalist society, there's a thing called demand and supply. And funny enough, supply and demand is probably the most important thing when it comes to property investing. Because what you want to do is you want to find an area where there's a lot more demand, less supply. But when it comes to banking, what happens is, if a lot of people are looking for interest-only loan and no one's servicing that sector, that opens a whole market for a whole new player or a bank.
Okay. Yeah,
so think about the opportunities, are huge. So there's always going to be someone that's going to cater for different, as long as there's demand for something, there will be a supply for it.
Interesting.
So don't worry about that.
Okay, great.
So what happens is though, banks, what they do is they recalibrate who their ideal customer is. They recalibrate what their ideal type of loan is.
Right.
And sometimes they want to change certain things to protect themselves. We've got the most conservative banks in the world, I reckon. I mean, and what they're doing is they're trying to avoid anything happening like what happened to in America. It's in America. And what the American banks were doing was really reckless and foolish. And they were lending money to people. They were saying, look, there's a house for 200 grand. Here's 250 grand. Go on a holiday.
Wow.
And that's people who didn't have a job.
Yeah.
And then what they did is they got that loan that was really bad debt. And then they changed it with derivatives and made it look like it was good debt. And kept selling it and extending it and saying, wow, we've got AAA rated debt. And people were going, great. So they were lying, basically.
Yeah.
It was a big scam.
Yeah, it was a big bubble.
Now, the thing is, here in Australia, it's very different. And our banks are very, very conservative. And that's why the four most profitable banks in the world, probably. Like for their size, they're amazing. So, you know, that's one good thing about the
They know what
fiscal
they're
policy.
doing, yeah.
Now, interest-only loans, yes, you'll be able to get them. You may not be able to get them from the big four, but there's always going to be another lender.
Yeah.
And really, when it comes to borrowing money, when you borrow money in Australia, you're protected.
Okay, how?
Right.
How are you protected?
Well, every time you get a loan, there's insurance paid in that loan.
Right.
And what happens is, if the bank goes broke, then the government takes over and takes care of everything.
Okay.
Yeah, so your money in the bank's protected whether you deposit it or whether you borrow it.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to happen there. So there's not a lot of risk there. Like with anything, there's always risk.
Yeah.
But the risk is very minimised when it comes to Australia.
All right, cool.
Gotta be.
Excellent. So a lot of people have been saying lately as well that if you've got a portfolio and you've got quite a few interest-only investments, that the banks aren't letting you do this anymore, and they're not letting you have these loans at all.
Look, when you've got too many properties with one lender, it's actually not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because the lender's appetite, when you get loans from the lender, the appetite grows as you get more loans. But once you get to a certain amount, the appetite actually decreases.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't want to be exposed to one person that much.
Okay.
So what needs to happen, you need to diversify.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we don't go to banks when we borrow
Yeah,
money.
so don't be loyal to banks. Don't give them
Because
any
they're not loyal
loyalty.
to you anyway, no. So what happens is, really what we want to do is get the best deal we can. We want to go to a mortgage broker or mortgage manager,
Mm-hmm.
someone that's got a lot of experience, someone that's been in the industry for a long time, that's got a lot of banks and lending institutions on their books. So therefore we can get the right
Someone who's
fit.
got some runs on the board.
That's right, because see, someone that does loans, many loans every week, they're in the marketplace, they know,
Yeah.
they've got intuition. It's a bit like, I guess, with me with property. See, I've got over 20 years experience, but I'm helping 2 or 3 people every week buy property.
Yeah.
And because of that, I've got a feel for the road. Now, you get these people that talk about intellectual stuff about property investing, but if they're not actually doing it day to day, they don't understand.
It's not practical, real life
Yes,
advice.
real life advice is better. It's a bit like riding a bike, I suppose. If you've got someone riding a bike every day, or someone talking about riding a bike, who do you think will be better at riding that
The
bike?
person riding a bike.
Well, I'm riding that bike every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there that don't ride the bike. So if you get a mortgage manager, get someone that rides every day.
Yeah. So I think it comes down to having the right team as well.
Look, property, that's a great thing, because property is not a solo sport. See, ping pong's a solo sport. You play on your own. You
Right.
play doubles, but you've got a ping pong bat, you hit the ping pong. Property is more like rugby.
Yeah.
And if you're playing on your own with your little ping pong bat out in the field, and I've got the wallabies with me, what's going to happen to you? You're going to get squashed.
Yeah. It's not
You
going to
know,
work.
you get trounced, and that's why it's important to have a team. And my success in property has really been, obviously the strategy, but really having a team.
Yeah.
Because the 3 pillars, you've got strategy, you've got growth, and you've got cash flow. And these 3 pillars are very, very important.
Yeah.
And interest only, the reason we love interest only loans, and not always, but most of the time, is because interest only gives you more cash flow. So what I like to do is, when you're looking at interest only or principal and interest, usually interest only, if it's the same rate as principal and interest, I always go interest only, because I'm going to get a lot more cash flow,
Right.
and cash flow is the king of this thing.
Yep. So that's
Right.
that pillar cash
Yeah,
flow.
because you've got to get the 3 pillars right to keep yourself safe. Because what happened is, back in 2008, a lot of people lost money in GFC, in property.
Yeah.
But I had the 3 pillars, and I was safe, and nothing happened to me at all.
Yeah. Awesome.
And that's the big difference. So if you've got those 3 pillars, you're fine. So cash flow is very important. Now, sometimes, if the interest only loan, the interest rate's too high, and the principal and interest is similar payments, but I'm getting principal paid off, then I'd rather take that. So it's always depending on your situation, depending on your goals, depending on your portfolio. There's a lot of factors involved to make that decision.
Definitely.
But usually, 9 times out of 10, interest only, especially at the same interest rate, is better. And that's the way to go.
Excellent. So I guess moving forward, what are some really practical ways that people can actually surround themselves with the right team members?
Okay, look, it takes time and experience.
Yeah.
So I've built a team over the last 20 years. And what's happened is I've learned through trial and error.
Right.
You find someone, they're shit, you find someone else, they're a bit better, and you keep going. And the thing is, you need experience to know that, though. Because you don't even know if someone's good unless you've got
you
experience.
don't. Yeah.
So I now, because I really know property really well, super well, I know if someone's good or not.
Yeah.
Because I understand what level they've got. But there's a lot to do with it. The team members have to be really good at what they do. They've got to be flexible.
Yeah.
And they also need to know your strategy.
Right.
and need to be able to communicate with everyone else in your team.
And think forward, not just for one property, but for the next.
Yes, that's right. Because
and the one after
the
that.
challenge is it's not a one transaction thing. Property investing is a long-term investment where you need people that are going to be here long-term,
Yeah.
that have got the long-term mind, but also what you need to do is you need to have the right strategy, which is the other pillar.
Yeah.
And they need to know your strategy.
Definitely. So having the right connections make a big
Massive
difference.
difference.
So do we go interest only or
Interest only most of the time.
Yep,
It
and
depends.
fixed or variable? What do we do there?
Okay, yes, fixed or variable. Now look, a lot of people ask that question and it's interesting. I mean, we've got the lowest interest rates in the last 40 years in Australia. So they're extremely low. I mean, they're amazingly low. They're so low that, I mean, I'm buying property for $11 a week at the moment.
Wow.
Which is cool.
That's awesome.
We've got some members that are buying property that are positive $50 or $80 a week. Depends on your tax. I pay 11 because I don't pay that much tax, but people that are paying large tax, they're positive gear.
Yeah.
That's beautiful that you can buy property and get paid to buy the property,
Awesome.
right? Which is great. Now, fixed or variable, it depends. And let me go through a few questions. And at the end of this, I'm going to give you a little tip that's a little secret what you can do. But let me ask you a few questions. First question is, if interest rates go up a little bit, if you're going to lose sleep, right, get stressed out, or you're going to be under financial pressure, that's a big sign that maybe you need to fix,
Right. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because really at the end of the day, you want to keep safe, because keeping safe is the most important thing. Safety is very important.
Yeah,
So if you're going to be stressed out by interest rates going up, maybe you need to think about fixing. But I'll give you a few tips on what you need to do before you fix. All right. So if you're going to fix, you want to start with your home loan on your home, because that's bad debt, not good debt. So for example, you've got your home and you've got your investment property. Now, if interest rates go up on your home, right, you're going to have to pay that interest rate. So if I have to pay an extra $5,000 on my
that's a
interest
lot
rate,
of money.
I'm going to have to pay $5,000 out of my pocket. But let's say my investment property, I have to pay $5,000 extra interest. I don't have to pay the full $5,000
Why not?
because I'm getting tax deduction first. So
okay.
because if I've got an ITWV, internal tax withholding variation, and I've got a depreciation schedule, right? And even if you don't have that, you can still do this at the end of the year, but I'd rather get my money back weekly. That's what I talk about. We'll talk about this in a different place. But what you can do is that $5,000, now let's say you're on a 20% tax bracket, which is really low. You'll only have to pay $4,000.
Cool.
Right? But most people, let's say if you're in 50% tax bracket, a lot of people are, then you're only paying $2,500.
Right.
That $2,500 you're getting back from the government. And if you do it the right way, you can actually get the money back on a weekly basis, so it costs you nothing. If you wait till the end of the year, you have to fork out that $5,000 and then get the money back, which is not the right way to do it.
And you want the cash flow, obviously.
Yeah. So if you're going to fix your home, not your investment property, right?
Fix yourself.
Now, but also, if you're going to sell in the next 2 or 3 years, don't fix. Because you're going to have to pay
break fees.
So it's ridiculous. Or let's say you want to use some equity in the future.
You don't want to give the bank more money.
If you want to use equity in that property in the future, well, you don't want to fix either. You know what I mean? So that's what you want to do.
Cool. Excellent.
Now, you can fix a home loan 1 year, 2 year, 3, 4, 5.
What would you recommend though?
10
What's
years.
optimal?
Look, there's no point in fixing if you're not going to fix for more than 3 years.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
No point at all. It's not going to make a lot of difference, and you lose the flexibility.
Right.
So, and 10 years is looking a long way out.
Too long.
That's a big,
That's too much.
probably too much. I recommend the median 3, 4, or 5.
Right.
Those are really the sweet spot of fixing a home loan. That's what I'd look at, because it's a decent amount of time, gives you the flexibility to change in 3 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, that sort of stuff.
All right. Excellent.
Yep. So the thing is though, with a fixed interest rate, you can't make extra payments. Because what's happening is you get a loan for 5 years at a fixed interest rate, and you've got a contract. And the reason you're getting a good rate is because they're going to get paid for that. So if you break it, you've got break fees,
Yes, of
right?
course.
So you can't pay off early. And now part of our program, as you know, is our program. What we do is we've got a rapid mortgage reduction.
Pay off your
cash
mortgage
flow.
in half the time.
That's right. So you can pay off a normal mortgage is 25 to 30 years, but we normally pay.
A lot of people go, oh my God, that is not possible. How can you do that?
It's-
George, you can't pay off your mortgage in half the time.
You can. I've done it before, and I do it all the time. But you can pay off a mortgage in 10 to 15 years very easily with the same amount of money, but just change
It's
the
just
way
a
you do
matter
things.
of changing your structure.
It's all about thinking smarter, not harder. And we've got a whole, if you want to look at this, look it up on our Facebook group or on our website.
Check out our webinar.
Yeah. Check out our webinar. It talks about how we do it.
We go really in depth on the actual strategy behind how to powerfully mortgage in half the time, because it is possible, it's being done. We're helping our members do it every single week.
Yep. So because you can't pay it off early, you've got a lot of inhibition, right? A lot of sort of blocks in your way.
Right.
So if people on our program would not fix their whole loan, no way. However, I've got the little secret that I was going to talk about.
Okay,
right?
tell us.
Okay. The secret I was going to talk about is just don't fix 100% of it.
Right. Okay.
So what you can do to get the best of both worlds, because what happens is 70% of the time, people getting a variable rate are ahead of the game. And the reason being is because banks, they calculate things and they want to work things out so they can make the most money out of it.
Yeah, they want to put it in their favour.
That's right. So if they organise a fixed rate at 3% in the next 5 years, they're expecting the rate to be lower than that.
Right.
And they know more about rates than what we do. The challenge is no one at the moment can really predict what the RBA is going to do.
Yeah.
Right?
They've been a bit of a loose cannon.
Yes. So no one really knows what's going to happen, and no one can predict it anymore. Because we can't predict it, we don't know.
Yeah.
So to be honest with you, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
I mean, there's certain countries that have got negative interest rates now up in Northern Europe. And so interest rates, how low can they go? Well, they can go to zero, they can go
How
negative.
low can they go?
But if you look at it, this has been the lowest interest rate in 40 years in Australia. So it's pretty amazing.
That's awesome.
But I don't see interest rates going up too high, but I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
It's uncharted territory. We've never had interest rates this low. It's amazing. I mean, I'm buying property for $10 a week. We've got people buying property, making $50 a week, $100 a week profit
actually
every week.
making money.
Yeah, because of how low the interest rate is and because of the structure of their tax
strategy.
and their strategy. So it's really amazing. So if you ask me, property has never ever been cheaper in history in certain areas.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say this Melbourne and Sydney and places like that, very expensive, but if you can buy a property and make $50 a week in a seed, because I only buy in capital cities, large regional centres. If you can buy in those areas that are very populated, lots of demand, not a lot of supply, and you can buy it for less than $50 a week. How cheap is that?
Yeah. It's a no-brainer.
So it's very cheap. So property is really cheap at the moment.
Just look at the numbers, look at the stats, look at the facts. And
So basically what I do is, if you're going to fix anything, do your home, and I'd go 50-50.
50-50 on your home?
So yeah,
occupied?
So 50%, 3 to 5 years, fixed.
Yep.
3 to 5 years, variable with an offset account, interest only.
Cool.
You can pay it off quickly, right?
Yeah, nice.
Or principal interest, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because it's your home, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Right? And that way, what you can do is really get the best of both worlds. That's my little secret tip.
Awesome. Cool. There you go. You heard it here first. 50-50.
Yep. So that way you balance your bets out. Now listen, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you really enjoyed this, please like, share, or comment. And that's about it. Enjoy your day. It's fantastic. Bye bye.
See you later. Bye.